I put the passcode in, and immediately when I put the passcode in, it's a text message and it says babe, but it's not me. It's another number. If you're gonna cheat, you can't be stupid. Like, you have to pick one struggle, okay? Definition of a compulsive liar. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today's story time is going to be the long-awaited, highly anticipated, always talked about Adrian story time. If you're a little confused on what I'm talking about, or if it's your first time here, today's story time is essentially going to be about the time that I was in a relationship with a narcissistic, compulsive liar. This is probably one of the most, if not the most, toxic relationships I have ever been in. The story is a little hard to talk about. It's one that I have healed from, but it took me probably 2-3 years to solidly look back at the situation and look at it as an observer and not as if I'm actually in it. It took a lot of therapy, a lot of time, and a lot of, healing through triggers for me to get to the point that I am at now. If you are triggered by narcissistic relationships, compulsive liars, mental abuse, I highly suggest that you click off this video and go ahead and watch one of my other videos, because I am going to be touching on these topics today. As usual, this story is not to bash anybody, it's not to paint anybody in a bad light, and it's not to send hate to any of the parties involved. Please don't bother looking for these people. You will not be successful in doing so. There is no trace of us on social media whatsoever. And at the end of the day, this is a story that happened in 2016. It's now 2021. It's been 5 years. I wish this person the best. There are also stories from other women that came forth after I ended up finally leaving this person. Unfortunately, those stories are not mine to tell. I am very much so about respect and being cordial and things like that. I do want to reach out to some of them to see if it's okay if I talk about them and just get like their permission on it, just because one in particular, the events that happened to her, I know were super traumatic and super life-changing, and I want to make sure that she's okay with me talking about it on here. And one thing that I do want to say before I start, everything in this story is 100% true. I don't ever tell these stories to paint people in a bad light. I'm just telling the absolute truth about what happened to me, and if they are painted in a bad light, that is based off of their actions that they did themselves. You own everything that has ever happened to you. Tell your stories. If people wanted you to write about them more warmly, they should have treated you better. Period. Let's get into today's story time. This story is going to take place in 2015. If you have watched my previous story time on me dating a Marine, this is kind of going to be directly everything that happened after I got out of that relationship with Jose. So after I got out of a relationship with Jose, I spent the next couple of months healing, focusing on myself. Summer coming into fruition, I was reaching out to some of my friends to plan some things, to go to some places, and my best friend and I decided that we were going to hang out on a Saturday night and go to a hookah bar. And girl, before you even tell me about these hookah bars, I know. Trust me, I need to stop with the freaking hookah bars, because it's like everybody that has ever ruined my life I have met at a hookah bar. I am done. This hookah bar is called Euphoria. We had planned to go there. It was me, my best friend, and her boyfriend. So I picked them up. We went to this hookah bar, and we had just planned to have a pretty fun night. Now at this hookah bar, as other hookah bars are, you have to be 21 and older to drink. At the time, I was 21. My best friend was not. Her birthday is in August, so she's always behind us. So we put wine in our little water bottles or whatever, and we walked in and we were like, oh, it's juice. So as soon as we walked in, I looked to the right and I see a familiar face, and I'm like, oh my God, that's Adrian. And how I know Adrian is because we used to run in the same circle. If you watch my story time about my ex cheating on me, I briefly talk about how I dated somebody named David. David and Adrian were really good friends, so whenever I was around David, Adrian was always there. And I did get some really clear indications and early warning signs that this person was not a great person, not a very faithful one, not very committed. And what I mean by that is I used to hang out with David and his friends. Adrian would be there. I would often see that there was like one girl who was like the main girl, like that was the girl that he was like always with, etc. But if she was busy or if she wasn't around, I would kind of see that he would also have other girls over at the house and would hang out with them. Him and this girl also were not in like a serious relationship. They were like building towards that, but I would often see like he would rotate. She would come in, she would leave, another girl would come in, and then they would leave. So from an early sign, I did get the indication that this person was kind of like a player, kind of a fuckboy. But it wasn't my business because I wasn't in a relationship with him. So that was about, I want to say like 2 years ago, right? So when I saw him, it was the first time that I'd seen him in like literally 2 years, because after him and that girl finally did get in a relationship, he kind of cut everybody off, fell off the face of the earth. Me and David didn't end up working out for very obvious reasons, and we all kind of moved on. So when I saw him, I'm like, oh shit. I went up to him, I gave him a hug. My best friend also knows him, and my best friend's boyfriend also knows him, because we all kind of used to hang out every now and then. So we went up to him, he said, hey, and I'm like, how are you? It's been so many, I haven't seen you in years. And it's crazy the way that like things work, because 2 days prior to me running into him at Euphoria, he had added me on Facebook. And the reason why we weren't friends on Facebook before is because when he was with that girl, he kind of just like unfriended everybody that he was friends with that was a female, which I get, I understand. And so he added me on Facebook, and I was like, oh shit, Adrian, cool, accepted it. And then I see him there, so I'm like, I don't know why, but in my head I thought it was a sign, because I'm just that bitch, like, oh, it's a sign, it's a sign, it's a sign. No, girl, it's not a sign, it's just freaking incidents. So we see each other, we hug, we all kind of catch up. My best friend says hi to him, we're all talking, and I'm like, how's, everything going? How have you been? We're just exchanging conversation. And I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna go get a table. It was really good seeing you. I hope you're doing well. Have a good rest of your night. And so it just so happens that the only table they had available was actually right next to Adrian and the friend that he was there with. So we kind of sat down, and we like we didn't like put our tables together or anything like that. We just sat down and we started enjoying our night. We're sipping on our wine, we're smoking a hookah, and then I noticed that he was kind of trying to like join in on our conversation. Like I'd be talking about something and he would join in, his friend would join in, her boyfriend would join in. So we kind of just decided from then on to put our tables together and just hang out for the rest of the night. So I was on my Snapchat, because back then, this is like when Snapchat was like freaking huge. There was no like stories on Instagram or anything like that. So Snapchat was like big before they came out with their update and fucked everything up. So I was on my Snapchat, and he was like, oh, let me see your phone, I'm gonna put my Snapchat in. And I was like, okay, cool. So he puts it in and he gives it back to me. The rest of the night, I don't really have much to say about. We just kind of hung out, we had a good ass time. That was that. So we leave, and he ends up messaging me on Snapchat, just basically saying like, had a good night, it was really good to see you, like we should hang out soon. Because I saw him and he was texting me, and I saw him like alone, I'm just like, he must not be in a relationship with that girl anymore, because if he was, he wouldn't be like exchanging Snapchats and asking me to hang out and stuff. So then I was talking to my best friend on the way home, and she was like, oh yeah, like I actually asked him where his girlfriend was, and he said that they broke up. And they were in a relationship for like a very long time. Like they were always on and off, and then they were like solid for 2 years. Basically, I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna be friends anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we start messaging on Snapchat, and he kind of starts flirting with me. And I remember I messaged my friend, because I was like, girl, like something's going on, because he's been flirting with me like a lot lately. And I was like, but I feel like he's kind of like, Adrian's like that with everybody. Like he just has that like personality where like all the girls are always attracted to him, all the girls always want to be around him. Like he's just like that guy, So I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's nothing serious. And also I felt a little bit bad, because the girlfriend that he was with, I wouldn't say me and her were friends by any sense, but like when I would hang out with David, she would be there and stuff. So we were kind of like acquaintances, but we weren't like friends, So I did feel a little bit bad though. My best friend was like, girl, like just go for it. Like you guys aren't friends. You guys don't like hang out and stuff. Like it's not a big deal. So I did have this like sense in my head that we were flirting and that like something was happening, but like I didn't know what the hell it was. So I was just kind of sitting there letting things happen, letting it go. We ended up hanging out I want to say a week after that, he invited me and my best friend to go to the hookah bar again, and we went, and that night things got a little bit heated, okay? We were definitely flirting. We definitely were like holding hands and stuff, and I don't know, there was just like this instant strong connection that I can't explain that we had together. It was like magnetic. And even my best friend was like, it's weird, like when you guys are together, I feel like there's like this crazy like chemistry and spark, and there was. And like to this day I will say that like it was the biggest like spark when I first met somebody, like ever. Like we just had this crazy instant connection. It was like I felt like I knew him from other lifetimes, and like our souls had like known each other before. It's a really weird, unexplainable feeling, but I had this deep sense of like I've met this person before. We walked out to the parking lot, he said goodbye, and he kissed me, and I just felt this like magnetic spark all throughout my body. It was just absolutely insane. A week after that, I was home with my daughter, off from work because she was sick, and he had messaged me asking me if I needed anything. And I actually did need some like liquid Advil at the time, and so I told him, I was like, actually I do need some Advil for her, and I don't really want to take her to the store right now, she's not feeling well. And he was like, I got it, like I'm gonna come give you some. And he came to my house, he dropped it off, he stayed with us for a bit. We hung out basically the whole entire day. He met Aubrey and got to know her, and it was really nice. Nobody had ever really done something like that for me before. And there's not too many people that I can depend on in my life that are very reliable. I'm usually that person for everybody else. So when I saw that he was doing little things like this for me, I just was like, wow, that's really nice, really sweet to do that for me and my daughter. From that day on, we hung out like 3 times a week. Every single week we hung out constantly, all the time. He would come to my job 2 to 3 times a week and bring me lunch, and we would sit outside on my car and we would just eat and stuff. And like I'd come in and my coworkers would be like, ooh, like I saw you and your man's up there, you guys are so cute. He would come and bring me like pizza, and we would go to like the little gas station and get snacks and stuff, and he would just stay with me the whole entire hour for my lunch break, talking with me, you know, just spending so much time together. And it was really nice how I don't know, it was weird. Like I felt like somebody's traveling 30 minutes on their day off to come and spend time with me and see me and bring me lunch. Like nobody had ever done anything like that for me before. So I don't know, it really made me start to fall for him. I would say in the beginning he love bombed me, which is something that is very typical that I see with narcissistic relationships, is they love bomb the crap out of you in the beginning. They say all the things you want to hear. They reassure you that they're about you and that they love you and they care for you. They'll bring you gifts, they'll bring you presents, they'll bring you food, anything that you essentially want. I feel like they also will like collect information. Like they'll sit there and they'll listen to you talk about your past relationships or talk about past things, and they'll kind of sit there and just listen to everything, and they'll collect information because they want to use it against you later on. And I felt like that was something that he really did with me. He heard that I had been cheated on before. He heard that I had really bad relationships with like Aubrey's father and things like that, and he just right away would always like reassure me that those things weren't going to happen. And I felt secure and I felt safe with him, and I felt like I could really trust him. He would always tell me how beautiful I was. He would always make me feel so pretty and alive, and that I was basically just like the light of his life, and it made me feel really good inside, really important, and really validated. And in the beginning things were as close to perfect as perfect could be. He met Aubrey, he was very concerned about her, very invested with her, very just involved. He wanted to do things with us, he wanted to see us. It wasn't just like me and him, like he wanted to see her too. We would plan dates, we would go to the movies together, we'd go out to eat together, we'd go for walks together, and he was like somebody that was really into like going on adventures and going out and actually like doing stuff, not just like drinking or not just sitting at home. Took further steps within establishing our connection even stronger. He had met both of my parents and my stepdad at the time, which was a huge deal for me because I always am very skeptical of who I allow to meet my family, especially if it's like a romantic relationship, because I want to make sure that this is somebody that I think would be in my life forever. So things started to go downhill very quick. He began hanging out with somebody that I wasn't particularly fond of, but it's not because of this person being a bad person or anything like that. I just noticed that when he would hang out with this person, that the worst would kind of be brought out of him. I'm somebody who I want to see everybody in my life win. I want to see everybody in my life succeed and live their best life and grow. And I feel like you hang around certain people, that's just kind of impossible. And I feel like when he would hang out with this person, he would be drinking till like literally 6 a.m. He'd go to work hungover the next day. Some days he'd have to call out of work because of it. I wasn't seeing him that much because he was just always going out with his friend. And that caused a rift within our relationship, and I would bring up my concerns and he would kind of just make me feel like my concerns weren't valid. And I'd always say, like, I'm not trying to say this to tell you to stop hanging out with him. I'm just telling you that I noticed this behavior when you hang out with him, and I just want what's best for you. You know, he had goals and he had ambitions and he had dreams, but he wasn't really working on them. And I wanted to help him get there. He did free running and parkour. If you don't know what that is, just look it up. Don't really feel like getting into it, but he was going to be like entering a competition, so he had to edit his videos in order to be submitted. And so I would sit there, I would help him go through videos, I would help him edit them, I would tell him what looks good, what doesn't. I would send him like certain clips that I liked, and I would send them to him and be like, oh, put this in there. I was trying to help him get to where he needed to be so he could be successful. And I feel like whenever he hung out with this particular person, that just all went down the window and all of his progress would just go down the toilet. So I was saying these things because I was concerned. I'm never somebody that is going to try to control my partner. I believe controlling leads to resentment. So I was not trying to tell him don't hang out with him. I was just saying, like, maybe just watch and observe how you are when you're with this person versus when you're not. We started to fight quite a bit because I just felt like he was completely changing. He wasn't doing the little things that he used to do in the beginning of our relationship anymore, and I felt like he just generally didn't have time for me. And again, I'd bring up concerns, and I feel like I was just met with gaslighting, and I was just met with manipulation, and it made me feel like I was the problem. And it got to the point where I looked at myself and I said, oh my God, I am the problem. It's me. I'm trying to control him. I'm trying to fight with him. It must be because of all these things that have happened in my childhood, and I need to meet up with him and sit down with him and tell him everything that's happened to me. That way I can have him understand why I am the way I am. I really wrote him a 3-page letter back to back, so technically 6 pages of everything, not everything, but like a gist of things that I've gone through as I've been on this earth, to kind of give him an insight as to why I am the way that I am. That's the worst possible thing that I could have done looking back, because I now see that that was what he wanted all along. He wanted to know everything so that way he could use it against me further on in our relationship. We met up at the beach. I read him the whole entire letter, and by the end of it, I felt like he understood me better. And that's one thing in my life that I will say, is that I've never felt like I've had a partner that understands me 100%. I often feel very misunderstood in my life in general, especially in relationships. So it was really important to me that he understood the things that I've gone through, so he can understand my triggers and my weaknesses and why, you know, I am the way that I am, why I do the things that I do. And I felt like that would strengthen our relationship. It didn't. The same things continued to happen, and it ultimately led us to break up. I remember I was sitting in front of my house on my little patio. I just gotten off of work, and he called me, and he basically said, I love you, I love your daughter, but I can't do this anymore, and I think it's best if we break up. And I was absolutely heartbroken. I was devastated because I was falling in love with this person. I also forgot to add that within probably 2 weeks, he told me that he loved me, and I said it back because I did genuinely believe that I was in love with this person. It's probably the fastest I've ever fallen for somebody, but he said I love you pretty quickly on. So when we broke up, I was absolutely devastated. But he would do this thing where he would break up with me but still act like we were in a relationship. It's like he couldn't let me go completely. He wanted to give me enough breadcrumbs just to be fed, but never full, never satisfied. Not to the point where I was starving, but also not to the point where I was full. And I feel like he would still text me, he would still call me, he would tell me he loved me, he still would call me babe, he would still act as if we were together. And this is a pattern that was very common in our relationship. One day we would be absolutely amazing, the next day we would break up. One week we would be absolutely amazing and you'd think nothing was wrong, and the next week he was breaking up with me. He probably broke up with me about 4 or 5 times in the span from May to November-ish, I want to say, which is very toxic, very bad, not healthy at all. And it was always when I would bring up something that bothered me. I would be gaslit, I would be manipulated, I would be told that I was crazy, I would be told that I bitch too much, I complain too much, I nag him too much, and that I'm just too much for him to deal with. I would catch him commenting on other girls' pictures. Sometimes I would catch him like texting other girls and things like that in, you know, not appropriate context, but it would always be when we weren't officially together. Like, that's the thing with this person, is that when he was in a relationship, he was committed, right? But when he wasn't, it was like he was still single. And I'm the type where it's like, if I'm not in a relationship with you, but we're working towards getting into one, I'm loyal. So that was the difference between us. So that's always the excuse that he had, was like, well, we weren't in a relationship, so it's okay if I do that, or we're not in a relationship, or I didn't mean it. They're not even, I don't know, like, I just did that. They're nothing like you. Like, they have nothing on you. You're beautiful, you know, I love you. Just, again, manipulation, love bombing, things like that. It would often lead me to miss school some days because I would just be so depressed and so heartbroken and so upset about the situation that there was no way I could go to class and that I could concentrate. So not only was it disrupting my life, but it was disrupting my studies and disrupting my goals to further myself in life. Eventually down the line, him and the person that I wasn't too fond of stopped being friends because that person ended up trying to hit on me, and he you know, I feel like when a narcissist sees that someone's trying to take their supply, like, that's when they cut them off, you know? Not all the horrible stuff that happened before then, but once, you know, their supply is messed with. So he officially cut that person off, and October was like a really rough month because we were doing really well, and then out of nowhere he broke up with me. And keep the month of October in mind because it is going to come to play later on in the story. But I felt like he was becoming very distant, very wishy-washy. Like, some days he would be great at communication, the next day I wouldn't hear from him much. Wasn't really trying to spend much time with me. We were fighting. He was staying out all hours of the night getting drunk, and October was a really rough month. And again, we were just on and off. He would break up with me, and then we would get back together, and it was just very toxic. But after the month of October, and then leading into the months of November and December, we were pretty solid. We were working towards becoming better. We wanted to really stay together this time. November, he took me out to dinner, and we were hanging out before then, but we weren't back in a relationship officially. And he officially asked me to be his girlfriend again. We went to Walmart after that, and Christmas was coming around, and he really wanted I don't know if it was like a place, I don't know if it was a place, I don't know what it was. It was some game system. I think it was like a PS2 or something like that. He really wanted one for Christmas. And he asked me if I could get him his Christmas present earlier. And I said, yeah. I went to Walmart, got it for him. Everything was great. A couple of weeks after that, he ended up getting into a car accident and completely totaled his car. Couldn't drive it, nothing. And at the time, he didn't have a lot of money saved because, I don't know, he just didn't. He had a job, but he didn't have like enough money saved to just get a brand new car. I offered to give him $3,000 in order to get another one because I didn't want him to be without transportation. He declined the offer, but was happy that I offered anyway. And that's just the type of person that I am. I feel like I don't have many people that I can rely on in my life, so I always want to be that source of reliance for others and like have them know, like, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. You're reassured that you're taken care of if you're with me. Like I said, I want to see everybody in my life succeed and get to where they need to be. We started to hang out with this friend group that I wasn't particularly fond of. Again, not anything bad about them or that they do in their lives. I just noticed that he wanted to spend his every waking minute with this friend group. And when we were together and hanging out, they were always calling him and texting him and things like that. And so I would ask him, like, when we're together, can you just tell them, like, we're together, we're hanging out, like, can you guys chill a little bit? Because I felt like even though I was with him, I was never actually with him. And there was also this girl in the group that I knew had a crush on him. Me and her are actually cool. I have no issues with her. We still talk to this day, but I knew that she had a crush on him, and I would sometimes like see them texting but they were like best friends, so I couldn't really say much. And sometimes things were like a little inappropriate, so I would bring that up to him and I would be like, what is going on here? And ultimately it led for him to stop hanging out with them. I never told him to stop hanging out with them. I encouraged him to hang out with them. I just said, can you have a talk with them about when we're hanging out? And you know, if you don't answer back right away, it's because we're busy, like we're hanging out together, we're in a relationship. And that ultimately, I think, led him to like resent me, because I feel like he felt as if he had to choose, but I never told him that he had to. Looking back on it now, I'm pretty sure he was probably bringing girls over there and stuff like that. Like even Christmas came around and we had a really good day. We spent Christmas together, but like the whole entire day they were calling him and they were texting him and they were like, let's hang out. And it got to the point where he looked at me, he was like, do you want to go hang out with me and my friends? And I'm like, it's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. No, I want to spend time with my family and my daughter. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, but like, we already spent time with them. Like, the day is over. Let's go out. And I'm like, it's Christmas. He had a very good talent at lying. It almost seemed as if before, when I would bring anything up, he already had an answer for it like that. He already had an elaborate, planned out, thought of answer in response to anything that I could ever possibly question. And he was very good at lying, very good at manipulating. Anytime I brought anything up that was like bothering me, it always seemed as if he would make me question myself. And it got to a point where I did look at myself like, okay, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I do bitch too much. Maybe I do bring these things up too much. And he had a really, really good talent of, he was very talented at making you feel like it was you and that he wasn't doing anything wrong and that you were crazy. So after that, he ended up distancing himself from this group of friends. And for the next 6 months, we were actually pretty solid. I did not catch him doing anything. I didn't catch him texting any other girls. We did not break up at all. We were really, really good. And I remember like on my birthday, he completely showed out for me. He took me everywhere I wanted to go. We went to the mall, we went to the movies, we went to stores. He bought me anything that I wanted to. And I will say about this person is that he was very good at like, you know, holidays and birthdays and things like that. Like very good about like being like, you know, the whole day is about you. I want to give you anything that you want. He would always buy Aubrey stuff. He'd always be like really concerned and really invested about Aubrey. And like other people would look at my relationship and they'd be like, oh my god, your boyfriend got that for you, like you're so lucky. Or like from the outside looking in, like from social media, people would be like, oh my god, you guys seem so happy together. Or they'd be like, oh my god, you're so lucky, my boyfriend would never do something for me like that. So it made me feel like the stuff that I had dealt with prior like didn't really stand a chance against me breaking up with him, because I felt like it was okay, because everybody was looking at my relationship and telling me that it was so perfect that the things that I would find out would be like minor, if that makes any type of sense. It's like he was doing all these great things for me, so why would I complain about the other stuff, you know? During our relationship, he never posted me on social media. I remember it took a long time for us to even like be in an official relationship on Facebook. And he would write on my wall, I'd write on his. When it came to like Instagram, Snapchat, never posted me. I would post him all the time. We didn't have, there was no like stories back then on Instagram, but you could make a post, you know, post a picture with a caption. I'd always post how much I loved him and how much I admired him and things like that. And he never once posted me. So going to his profile, unless you looked at the comment section where I would be all up in there, you wouldn't know that this person was in a relationship. And I think that he did that on purpose. That way he could still talk to girls on the side. That's something I'm realizing looking back. On my birthday, I remember we were going to dinner with my mom and my stepdad at the time, and he had bought me this like really, really pretty bracelet. And I remember we were walking into the restaurant and my mom was looking at it, and then I kind of had walked up to go see my stepdad and say hello, and I heard him in the background talking to my mom, and he was like, yeah, I was gonna look at rings today, but I felt like I should wait for that. And my mom was like, oh yeah, wait until, you know, you can get the loan and stuff like that. But that's, I'm trying to emphasize to you guys how serious our relationship was. Like we talked about engagement, we talked about kids, we talked about buying houses together. Like, it was serious and it was very solid and very committed. The month of February passes, Valentine's Day passes. We had a very good Valentine's Day. I spent a month working on this book for him, and I wish I still had it so I could show you guys, but I spent a really long time on my lunch breaks every day working on this book for him. And it was like this book where I read paper and I put like Valentine's Day hearts all over it, and I put pictures of us, and like with every single picture I would put like a cute little quote under it, or I put like lyrics from a song that he sent me, or I'd put like important dates or something like that. And it was really special, and I gave it to him and he loved it. And his birthday came around, and I planned a whole day out for him. I planned to take him to the mall, buy him anything that he wanted to get from there, and then we were going to go to the movies, and then we were going to go to Hibachi because he had never been to Hibachi before. So I wanted to do that. His birthday was a couple weeks after mine. He's a March Pisces. Never again. I'm a Pisces, but like Pisces men is just, yeah. That's a story for another time. His birthday was when I kind of saw how self-entitled he was. He had gotten into an argument with me before we went out because he said that he wasn't used to somebody ever caring about him on his birthday. And birthdays are a very important thing in my life. If you have a birthday and you're in my life, I'm gonna make you feel important. I'm gonna make you feel loved and valued and do anything that I possibly can to make your day special. So he was getting into an argument with me before then, and I'm like, can you please just come here? We're gonna go out, we're gonna have a good time. It's winter, you can't really do much for in winter, you know, for birthdays and stuff like that. So I thought that what I had planned was really nice. I made him a cake, I made him cupcakes and stuff like that. And I noticed that he just had a really weird attitude throughout the whole entire night. And then we went to Hibachi. He was like, I don't like eating around people. And I'm like, okay, but that's what Hibachi is. Like, you sit next to people and you eat. And he's like, can we just get a table? And I was like, yeah. So we got a table, we had a few drinks, and I told him, I was like, oh, like, did you have fun? Like, did you have a good time? And he was like, I'll just like go out or something next year. Basically taking everything that I did for him and just completely shit on it. He was like, yeah, it was fun, but like I kind of like wanted to like go out. Go out where? We don't go to bars and stuff like that. Where do you want to go? It just made me feel like crap. It made me feel like he had a way of making you feel as if nothing you did was good enough. It's like, oh, well, look at all this stuff that I did for you. Like, you didn't do that for me. And it's like, yeah, I did. So very like unappreciative, very much so. Just like very self-absorbed. Just nothing you ever did was acceptable. I felt like he was pressuring me into having kids, and I already had a daughter, but we had always talked about how we wanted kids in the future, how we wanted to get an apartment together, how we wanted to do all of these things. And I felt like he was pressuring me to have kids early on. And I would say to him, first of all, no, because I'm still living at my dad's, you're still living at my mom's. Me and Aubrey are already sharing a bedroom. And also, like, we're not stable. Like, we're always breaking up. We're always on and off. It'd only been, like, really 2 months that we were stable. And he would say things like, yeah, but, like, if we had a kid, like, I wouldn't break up with you. Like, I would want to stay with you. Like, you'd be the mother of my child. I would never do anything wrong to you. If we had a kid, my head would actually probably be, like, a lot more screwed on. I'd probably be, like, a lot more mature. That would kind of, like, force me to do that. And, looking back on that now, that is so toxic and so manipulative. But back then I couldn't see that because I was just so desperately in love with this person. But he made me feel bad essentially for not wanting to have kids just yet. And I told him, I said, once we do things like, you know, getting our own apartment and things like that, and once like we're solid for a bit, I would have no problem talking about that. But until then, I'm not going to go get my birth control taken out, and I'm not going to pursue having kids with you when I don't know what's even going to happen with us in a couple months, because you're just always on and off with me and you're never consistent. And also to note, the girl he was in a relationship before me, the reason why he ended up breaking up with her and leaving was because he wanted a family, he wanted kids, and he said that she was not on the same page with that, or she like wasn't ready to do that just yet. And he felt like because they were engaged and had been together for so long, that he felt like that, you know, was something that wasn't really working for him, and that's why he left. So I feel like the reason why he even wanted to be with me was because he saw that I was a mom, and he saw that, You know, I take very good care of my daughter, I hold everything down, and I feel like he almost saw me as like an opportunity to fulfill that family that he's always wanted. But there's a time and a place for that, and there's certain criteria you have to meet before you have kids with somebody, and I already have a child with somebody who's not involved. I'm not going to make that same mistake again. And to this day, I thank God for not having kids with him, because wow. Mom ended up getting diagnosed with having an aneurysm, and that's something that my grandmother had passed away from. She had multiple aneurysms that had burst when she died, so it was a very scary, emotional time for me and my family. She was going to go and have to get brain surgery, which is very serious, very life-threatening, and I remember during this time he was a huge source of comfort for me. Somebody that I could lean on and cry to, someone that I could rely on, and he would always be there for me and assure me that everything was going to be okay. Her surgery ended up taking place in New York. He slept at my mom's house the night before with all of us, got up at 4 a.m. so we can go and drive to New York. He drove me the whole way there, paid for the tickets, the tolls, and he sat with me in the waiting room for probably 6 hours while everything took place. Sat there and I fell asleep on him and he fell asleep on me, and we were listening to music and playing games on his computer, and he literally sat with me for 6 hours throughout the whole entire surgery, and then drove us all the way back home and was there for me before, during, and after. That's something I'll always be grateful for. I don't think I could have made it out of that without him, so I'll always be grateful to him for that. But because of that, I felt like, wow, like this is really somebody that this is a firm foundation that I could lay myself into. This is someone I can rely on, someone who loves me, someone who's there for me. And it made me fall in love with him, even though I was so incredibly in love with him. It made me fall in love with him like 20 times more than I already was. We hit our year mark anniversary, and we decided to start looking for apartments together. I had already planned to move out and get my own place, and we were together all the time. At this point, we were together probably every single day, and we figured it would make sense for us to move in together. We were at that point in our relationship where we felt as if we were ready. We were really solid. He had just gone through this huge like traumatic thing with me where he was really there for me, and I felt like we were ready. We ended up finding a perfect apartment for us, a 2-bedroom, laundry on site, a nice little yard, and we decided to move into it. And getting him to do anything for this apartment was like literally pulling teeth, whether it was to pick a day and time to go and sign the lease, or whether it was to give her our deposit or give her first month's rent, or anything at all. Like he had 2 jobs at the time. He had one job in New York that he only went to once a week. He had just gotten a new job at a jump place, and he didn't get his first paycheck yet. So I needed him to get a letter from his employer which stated his wages, how many hours he worked, etc. Because you guys know when you get an apartment, it's a lot of work. You have to put in your application, you have to do the lease, you have to do first month's rent and deposit, you have to like submit all of this stuff which says like how much money you make a month, and do you make 3 times that way you can afford my apartment. So it was a lot, and I needed him to get a letter from his employer stating the hours he worked and things like that. And like every single day I was calling this kid asking him to please get it to me so we can move into this apartment, because she was waiting on us to submit all of this stuff. And it was just like pulling teeth to get him to do absolutely anything. And it got to the point where I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna put it in my name. Like I'm the reason why we got it anyway, because I'm the only one here who has a credit score and a good credit score. So I told her, I said, just put it in my name and put him on the lease, but like it's basically, it was my apartment. Like he was on the lease, but I was like the primary renter, if that makes sense. But it was an early indication that commitment to this person was something that was not his strong suit, and there was a lot of red flags. And looking back, if that was me now, I probably wouldn't have even gotten the apartment with him, but I'm grateful it happened, because everything happens for a reason, and I had some amazing times in that apartment. We get to the point where we are going to start moving in together, and when you move in together, you have to pick out furniture, you have to get a kitchen table, a couch, you need silverware, you need shower curtains, like things that you don't think you would need. you need. And then when you go into the apartment, you find out that like a freaking pillow is like $20. So I was struggling because I was thinking of everything that we needed to get, and he just would not help me with anything. I'd be like, oh, let's take this day and let's go to Target and let's get all the stuff that we need, or oh, let's go to this Home Goods in this town and you can come with me and we can pick out the color scheme, we can do this and we can do that. And he just never wanted to be bothered, never wanted to come. Or if he did have a free day, he was like, oh, but I have to do this, this and that. Or it was like, oh, but I'm working so much. And it made me feel very alone in the process of us moving in together. I was at Home Goods one night with my best friend and I was picking out like stuff for the bathroom, and we're texting, and I wasn't texting him back in a very, you know, fast fashion because I was talking to my best friend. We were picking out things together and I wasn't concentrated on my phone. So he got suspicious of that and asked me to send him a picture of me and her at Target so he would know that I was actually there. Now, up until this point, I didn't give this man any indication that I was lying, that I was cheating. I was so loyal and devoted to him. It was almost sickening how I wouldn't even message another guy back if they messaged me on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. I would always be very loyal and devoted to him. There was one time where Jose from my last Storytime did try to reach out to me, and I told Adrian about it right away because I never wanted to give him any indication that I was doing anything shady or suspicious. Like, I was that girlfriend, and it made me question, why is he questioning me all of a sudden? Like, is he doing something? Remember that, because it's going to come up later on that he asked me to send him a picture when I was at Target. It got to a point where my dad was even questioning, like, are you sure you're ready to move in together? He doesn't seem like extremely reliable, like, or are you sure you're like ready for this? Are you sure you're not making a mistake? And he was kind of questioning if what I was doing was valid, and I was just like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you know, we're gonna move in and everything's gonna be fine. I think maybe he just is getting a little nervous. I would always make just like extreme excuses for him, but my dad always kind of saw through the BS of the facade that he put on, because he had this like charm, like when you first met him, of like how he was as a person, and you just automatically liked him like that. Like, everybody loved him. He was just that person. One day I was scrolling through my phone and I was going through my messages on Facebook, and I was on his laptop because he had left it over. I had a laptop, it was being fixed at the time, so I was using his. He would use it to video edit when he came over anyway, so I thought it was fine. And I see in my request folder, there's a message from this girl, and she messaged me, and this was in October. So remember, I told you to remember the October date. And she just messaged me and basically said, hey girl, I just want to let you know that up until tonight, I was seeing Adrian as well. Until I saw him texting you, calling you babe. He's a piece of shit, and basically, like, he doesn't deserve either of us, and I think you should, like, walk away, basically is what she was saying. Now, this caused me to call him right away and say, basically, what is this? This is from October, but I don't think she would just send this to me and be making it up. So, like, what's going on? I confronted him about it, and okay, so here's the thing. When she said his name, so he had a nickname, right? So basically, his real name isn't Adrian, obviously. It's a fake name for the purpose of this video, but his name was Adrian. So say his nickname was like AJ or something. Everybody called him AJ. Nobody called him Adrian. Like, if they called him by his full name, it was because it was like at work or just something like that. Everybody called him by his nickname, right? So when she called him by his like government name, I was like, I did think that was a bit weird, and so I did say something to him about that. I was like, yeah, she messaged me saying this, and I was like, so like, what's going on? I said, that was October, that was the month that we were like having problems. And I told him, I said, if something happened, like just tell me. I was like, just let me know and we can get past it, but don't lie to me. And he said, no, I don't know her. He's like, I think I might have like gone to high school with her or something like that, but we don't hang out. And I said, so you guys haven't hung out at all this year? And he was like, no. He's like, I don't know what she's talking about. And he was like, babe, she called me Adrian. Nobody calls me that. Everyone calls me AJ. And when he said that, it did kind of make sense to me. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. Nobody does call you that. That is kind of weird. But in my head, I'm like, this girl would not be making this up. Like, that doesn't really make much sense, you know? He basically made me think that it was nothing and that it was a miscommunication. or misunderstanding. And I realize now that by me saying these things out loud that it may sound stupid to you guys, but you don't understand unless you've been in a relationship with a pathological liar just how good they can lie and talk their way out of things. I didn't necessarily believe him, but I also didn't really have much else to go off of. So then I decided to do something which I didn't normally do, and I decided to log into his Facebook and to look at his past messages from just when we were in a relationship. And I found a laundry list of people that he was talking to so inappropriately, like girls asking him for pictures, girls asking him, are you single, blah blah blah, and a lot of inappropriate conversation was taking place, a conversation in which does not happen when you're in a relationship with somebody. And I saw that and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. We just signed a lease together. We just made this huge commitment to move in together. Things have been going so good. Why am I never enough for you? Why is it always other girls in our life? Why is it always, why can't it never just be us? Like, I don't understand. You know, you start to question your value and it's like, damn, if I'm not, am I not good enough? Is like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not enough to fulfill your needs, you know? And something that is really important that I want you guys to take away from this is that if you're dealing with a narcissist, you will never be enough. But it's not because you're not enough. It's because they need undeniable attention, like so much attention that one person could possibly not ever be enough for them. Oftentimes, you're actually too good of a person for them. And they know that, and they know that they're going to lose you, which is why they act out of insecurity. So don't ever think in your life that you're not enough, or that why am I not enough for you, or why can't it just be us? It's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. It's them. I questioned what I was doing. I was like, am I making a mistake by moving in with this person? Like, what? I just don't understand why I always catch him doing something, and like, why am I still in this relationship, you know? The thing is that those 6 months have been so freaking good that I thought maybe he's actually changed his behavior. Maybe he doesn't want to do this anymore. I mean, there's nothing here from the past 6 months. It was from like October and November and a little bit of like September and a little bit before that. But from like December till May, everything was, I didn't see anything. And that's basically what he chalked it up to. He said, I know that those messages are not okay. I don't know what was wrong with me. I don't know what I was thinking, but like, I've been so good that this past 6 months, I would never do that to you. Like, I'm telling you, Dakota, like, I've changed. Like, please just believe me. Please give me another chance. You will see such a change. Like, I have no desire to talk to anybody else. It's just going to be me and you. I believed him because I wanted to think that this person loved me and constantly had my best interest at heart. So let's fast forward to us moving in together. The agreement was that him and his father were going to move the bigger furniture pieces like the washer, the dryer, the bed, the TV, and the couch. He brought his own TV and his own bed because he said that his bed was bigger. So he was going to bring those things, and then we were going to kind of figure out another time to bring in everything else, like, you know, our items. Us figuring out another day to bring in our personal items ended up turning into me making 3 or 4 trips from my dad's house to our apartment because he couldn't help me. He either was working or he was busy or he had to do this or he had to do that. He wasn't bringing much there. He just was bringing like clothes and shoes and stuff. But I had like all of my stuff, all of Aubrey's stuff. And I remember I was just like, you know what? It's fine. You and your dad just bring, you know, this stuff and then I'll bring my stuff at a later time. But again, it made me feel very like isolated and alone within this move. I felt like I was doing kind of everything. And I just traveled all day, moved in everything. And I started to like set things up and make it all cute. I made a nice little coffee bar. I bought our kitchen table from somebody on the Facebook marketplace. I got us a coffee maker. I got us a bunch of like utensils, plates, forks, spoons, knives, cutting boards, pots, pans, stuff like that. I picked out, you know, everything that was going to go in the bathroom. I got us a new bed set. I got us all of our cleaning supplies, and I did that alone. But I was okay with it because I thought when we moved in together that everything was going to be different. We were going to spend so much more time together because now we were going to be in the same house, and work wouldn't be an excuse anymore. We did not really move in officially until probably like the second to last week of June, okay? Over the next couple weeks, things started to go really downhill. There would be times where he would have like a day off and I would have a day off, and I'd wanted to like spend the day together or do something, and my dad would have Aubrey and he couldn't be bothered. It was either he had to go do something, or he had to go training, or he had to go help out at work and pick up a shift, things like that. I would often want to go do stuff like going out to dinner or going out to lunch or just doing things together, and he would say like, oh well, we have an apartment now, so we can't really do that stuff anymore, we have to save up, you know. But then he'd go to like Spencer's and buy a bunch of like earrings and gauges and stuff, or shoes, and I'm like, okay, you have money for that, but you don't have money to like go out to dinner with me. That makes no sense. He wasn't helping me around the house at all, and you know, I was very busy. I was working full-time, I was in school full-time, and I was a full-time single mother. And I would come home and the dishes, he wouldn't have work till 12. I'd be at work from like 9 to 6:30, and I'd come home and the dishes would be stacked high, coffee maker would still be on, which is a fire hazard, crumbs everywhere, bed not made, like just not something you want to come home to after a long day of work. I understand that everyone's definition of cleanliness is different, but I'm not asking for much. I'm just asking for help. The responsibilities when you own a house or have an apartment are supposed to be split between two people, and I felt like I was just doing everything. He also would owe me money. Like I'd go grocery shopping and he was supposed to Venmo me half of it. He never would. I would say little things here and there, like, you know, how I felt like I was being unsupported and how he wasn't really helping me, but I wasn't saying it in a rude way. I was saying it in a constructive way, like, hey, like, do you think maybe you could do this, or maybe you could clean the dishes, or make sure you unplug the coffee maker, or like, hey, would you mind doing a quick Swiffer on the kitchen floor? Our kitchen floors got dirty very quick. And it would always turn into how I was nagging him, or how I was pushing him, or how I was not appreciative enough of him, and like, look at all the stuff I've done for you, and you're always nagging me, you're always telling me that what I'm doing isn't good enough. Why is everything that I'm doing not good enough for you? And it caused us to fight a lot, because I just felt like I wasn't being supported and I wasn't being helped. And this continued over the next couple of weeks. There was one night where he had come home from work, and we were kind of going at it through text all day, and he came home and we just started to get into it a little bit. And my thing is that I always said that I will never raise my daughter in a home in which there is arguing. Like there's a whole bunch of arguing that she could hear, because I had a lot of that growing up and I didn't want to do the same thing to her. So if we ever did argue, I'd make sure that either like she wasn't around, or like we would just go outside and kind of talk, or that we would just be able to communicate as adults without yelling and stuff. And things kind of started to get a little bit heated, and I asked him if we could please move this conversation to the next day, because I didn't want to be yelling while my daughter was sleeping. And he took that as me not meeting his needs emotionally and decided to go sleep on the couch. But before he decided to go sleep on the couch, he proceeded to tell me that the reason why we argue so much is because I'm a bitch, and because I don't appreciate him and I don't realize what I have. He said that if he, and I kind of asked him like, why are you with me then? And he's like, because I obviously love you. I mean, you know me, you know what I'm capable of. If I really wanted to, I could break up with you and I could go and get anybody I want. And he said, you could too, because you're beautiful, but I choose to stay with you. Which, looking back, I can't believe I ever in my life put up with somebody speaking to me like that. That happened, and I just felt very alone in that apartment. Like, it just felt like, you know, he was just like a roommate, you know? We weren't really spending much time together. He just seemed like he didn't ever want to be around me. And then he'd often say, like, I feel like you just got this apartment for you and Aubrey. I don't even feel like I'm, like, welcome here. And I'm like, you don't spend time with me, though, so how? Like, that makes no... You're not doing anything to make it seem as if it's our place together, you know? Little things started to happen. I would see this girl from his job Snapchatting him, and she does come to play in this story later on, so we are just going to call her Nikki for the purpose of this video. I saw Nikki messaging him, and I thought that was weird. I feel like when you're in a relationship and you have girlfriends prior to it, that's fine, whatever. But when you're in one, I feel like making friends that are girls is like kind of weird and inappropriate in my opinion. So I saw her snapping him and I was just like, what the heck? And so I went to go open it and I saw that they were just talking about the job. Like there was nothing that was going on, right? No inappropriate conversation, nothing. She was talking about how she used to like work at Kohl's and that she used to have 2 jobs, so she understands what he's going through and things like that. And I remember I kind of looked at him and I was like, why are you guys messaging? Like, it doesn't, like, can't this wait till you guys see each other at work? I don't understand. And he looked at me and he's like, Dakota, she's 17 years old. Like, relax. Like, she is 17. I would never go there. And you know that. And I immediately shut it down. I was like, oh, okay, no problem. I won't ask any more questions. Like, she's 17. You wouldn't do that. No worries. Remember that I'm saying this. I saw Nikki messaging him on Snapchat. I confronted him about it and he told me that she was 17. A few days after that happened, I was laying in our bed and he was in the kitchen. I'll never forget this day. He was making those like Tostitos rolls and I saw a girl from his New York job had messaged him and I thought that was kind of weird because we had like this agreement, like if we had guy or girl friends before our relationship, that like that's fine, whatever, we're not going to control each other, but like we shouldn't be like getting numbers from coworkers of the opposite sex and like establishing new friendships after we're in a relationship of the opposite sex. That's kind of weird. So I thought maybe she was just messaging him something about work. So I went to go look at it and it was not about work at all. It was about how they were talking about how he was going to go to her house one day after work and how they were going to hang out. There was a bunch of flirtatious messages being sent back and forward. I'm not going to get too into the details, but enough to make me go in there and put his phone in his face and say, what the F is this? Are you kidding me? We just moved in together. We literally have an apartment together. What are you doing? Like, what is wrong with you? And I was so mad. I was so frustrated. And he cried and got on his knees and said that he was so sorry. He said that the only reason why he did that was because he felt like he doesn't get enough attention from me and how I don't give him the time of day and that I'm too busy with school and that I'm too busy with work and I'm too busy with just everything else, that I never have the time of day for him. This is something that he often would bring up. Like, I remember school had ended in like May and we went out to eat and he was bringing up to me how he felt like I wasn't giving him enough attention, and he's like, I can't even imagine how it's gonna be when school comes back. Like, you're never gonna have time for me. You never have time for me. You never give me like enough attention. And I gave him so much attention, you guys. Like, we hung out basically every single day. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna give up school. I'm not gonna stop concentrating on my goals and my future because you want more attention. Like, if you want more attention, fine, there's other ways to go about it, but basically telling me that I have too many things going on and that you don't get enough of my attention, that's not the way you go about it. And I always told myself I would never stop my goals for a man. It's like, what do you want me to do, drop out of school? So basically he emotionally manipulated me into thinking that the reason why I give other girls attention is because you don't give me enough attention. You don't give me enough. So what do you expect me to do? I'm lonely. He basically cried and got on his knees and told me that he would never do anything like that again. He looked at me in the eyes. He's like, I promise you, this will never happen again. I realize where I'm going wrong. As you can see, I haven't been answering her lately, but I will never do this to you again. And to prove that to me, he said he was going to quit his job in New York, which again, I never told him to do. The job isn't the problem. Your friend group isn't the problem. Nobody else is the problem. You are. You are the common denominator in this. It doesn't matter about everybody. It's you. Started to notice little changes in his behavior. When you live with somebody, you really get to know them as a person. And I started to notice little changes that he was doing. He started doing his hair when he would go to work, and he wasn't somebody who typically did his hair often. He had a kind of hairstyle where it was like a fade right here and then it was like hair on the top, kind of like to the point where you could like put it in like a small man bun if you wanted to. And he started doing his hair, and I would say little things like, ooh, like what girl are you getting ready for today? Just like being dumb. And he'd be like, oh no, it's not that. It's just like I went to work with my hair done one day, and then now that I'm coming in with it not done, they're like kind of like making fun of me, like poking fun at me, being like, oh, like your hair looks so much better when it's done, like it should be done or whatever. So he's like, that's why I've been doing it. And I noticed other little things, like he started to like bring a shirt with him to work. Like, he'd have his all-star shirt on for his job, and then he would like bring a spare shirt with him. And then I saw that he would bring deodorant and a little small bottle of Axe as well. Don't ask me how I peeped this. I'm a Pisces. I freaking see everything, okay? And I thought that was really weird. And I noticed it, but I didn't say anything because, like, what am I going to say, you know? He would go to work earlier. So say if he had work at like 12, he would leave the house at 10 and instead. And he would just say, like, there's traffic on the way there. It was a 30-minute drive. So I believed him. He would start to come home very late from work. Say if he got out at 9, he would come home at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then say if he got out at 10 o'clock, he'd come home at like 11:30 at night. And that never used to happen. It was just all of a sudden he would go in earlier and then he would leave later. And there was always an excuse. It was always, oh, well, they need me to stay behind, or my boss needs me to stay 30 minutes after now because corporate complained that about how the ball pits aren't clean enough and it takes, you know, more than one person to clean it. So I volunteered to stay late and help, you know, babe, we really need the money. It could help us with the money. Or he would say, they needed help tonight with a new air vent came in and they needed a lot of people to help install it, so I stayed and I installed it. There was always an excuse and always something that he had to say back to any questions that I had. And I thought, okay, we're living together now. We're living with my daughter. It's getting to the point where she's looking at you as like a father figure. Why would he lie to me? Like, why would he make this huge commitment and lie about these things? I noticed all of these small little things. And I felt in my gut that something was wrong and that something was up, but I didn't have substantial ground evidence to go off of. There was one night where I needed him to get water and I couldn't get up and get it because Aubrey was already sleeping, and I needed him to go to Walmart and get it. It was on his way home, and he said, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm getting out actually a little bit early tonight, like around 8:30, so I can actually go and get it and then I'll be home. And I'm like, okay. So 9:30 rolls around, 10 o'clock rolls around, 10:45 rolls around, and I'm texting him. And he should have been home like 9:30 the latest. He gets out, he's getting out at 8:30, quickly stopping to get some water and coming home. I texted him and I was like, hey, like, I just want to make sure you're okay. I haven't heard from you. He's like, oh yeah, I'm about to leave right now. You're leaving work at 10:45 when you got out at 8:30. Oh yeah, well, some of the guys stuck around and we were just kind of in the parking lot talking for 2 hours. That makes no sense. I got pissed because I'm like, I could have went to bed an hour ago. I was waiting for you to get home so I could spend some time with you before we go to sleep, and you're not even, like, by now you're gonna get home at like 11:30. Like, what? I don't understand. So we got into a big fight about that because I was just over it. I was like, you're always prioritizing your job over us all the freaking time. Even on days where, like, I remember on 4th of July, he was supposed to get out at like 5 o'clock and come spend time with me. Didn't come home till like 8. And I just always took it as he just didn't want to spend time with me. I wasn't taking it as maybe there could have been somebody else. So let's talk about the night where everything went down and why you guys are watching this story right now. It was July 7th. And it was his last day working at the New York job. I had gotten out of work, got home around, I think this day I got out a little bit early, so I got home around 6. Aubrey was with my dad, and after I got out of work, I went to go pick up a kitchen set for her to put in her bedroom and set up so that way when she came home the next day, she was happy. And I remember I sent him a picture of it, and I was like just so excited about how I got this kitchen for like 25 bucks. It should have been like 100, but I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. And I sent it to him, and I was like just so excited about how I got this kitchen for like such a steal. And I remember I said to him, it's really starting to feel like home here, and I'm really looking forward to like making this place into a home with you. And he's like, I know, me too. It looks great. I'm so excited. And he's like, I'll see you tonight. And I said, okay. So he's supposed to be home around 7:30 the latest, and he wasn't. So I gave him a call and I was just like, hey babe, like, what are you doing? You know, I can't wait for you to get here. And he's like, I'm going to my mom's house. And I was like, why are you going to your mom's house? I thought you were coming home. He said, oh, it completely slipped my mind. I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. I have family coming in from Texas and I need to go see them. I was with this kid for over a year and never once have I heard about any family from Texas. And when you're with somebody and you're getting to know each other, you often say things like your favorite color, what band you like, what food you like. And by the way, I have family and they're not only in Connecticut, they're also here, here, and here. Never once have I heard about family from Texas. Just like, from Texas? I said, you never told me you had family from Texas. He's like, yeah. I do, and they're all at my mom's house right now, and like she really wants me to go over and say hi. I haven't seen them since I was like you know, little. And so I was like, oh, okay, well I thought we were gonna spend the night together. He's like, I'm really sorry, just, you know, my family's in town, I have to go see them. And I said, oh, okay. I was like, when are you gonna be home? Like maybe we can watch a movie and just eat dinner together. And he's like, I don't know, I'll update you. And I was like, okay. So I hung up the phone and I started cooking dinner. My landlord came by to collect the rent, gave it to her, and I gave her the rent for July. And I had texted him, I said, oh, by the way, so-and-so just came by to get the rent. You need to give me your half. And he's like, oh yeah, I got you. I'll pay, I'll give it to you when I get paid on Friday. And I was like, okay. So the entire night goes by and he does not text me, doesn't call me, doesn't anything, isn't active on social media at all. And I thought that it was kind of weird that he wasn't updating me. So 8 o'clock rolls around, 9 o'clock rolls around, 10 o'clock rolls around, and he's still not home. So I decided to text him. I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? I was like, I thought, you know, you were only gonna go for a couple hours and come home. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, I think I'm gonna end up being here for a bit longer. And I was like, what family is in from Texas again? He's like, oh, just like a couple of like my cousins, you know, just like a couple of my cousins, aunts and uncles and stuff. And I knew in my gut that something was wrong. I knew that he was lying to me. I knew there was no family from Texas. I'm not stupid, guys. I know this, okay? I always know, I just never trust myself enough, I guess. So I asked him, oh, okay, so you're at your mom's house, right? He said, yeah. I said, oh, why don't you send me a picture of you with your mom if you're at her house, right? And I didn't think that was a problem because he asked me when I was at Target with my best friend to send him a picture, even though I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't lying about anything. I was getting supplies for our house, okay? He blew up. You would have think that I told this kid that he needed to go like to freaking California to get me seedless watermelon. Like literally you would have thought that I asked him to do some astronomical thing. He flipped out. He went off on me, told me that he's not happy anymore, that I'm crazy, that I'm always accusing him of doing something, that I'm always nagging him, I don't appreciate him, I'm always on top of him, I'm always never letting him breathe, he can never just go do what he wants. Why is it that he has no friends anymore? It's because of me, because I made him leave all of his friend group. He's having trouble with money now because I made him quit his job in New York. Going off on me, saying all these things that are not true and that never happened, and calling me horrible names, saying that I'm basically the worst. And he goes, you know what, Dakota, I'm done. I'm breaking up with you. We are done. Hangs up the phone. So I'm freaking out and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? Did I push too much? Like, did I say something I shouldn't have? And so I'm calling him, I'm texting him. He's not answering me, refuses to answer me, refuses to talk to me. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I think my relationship just ended. We just got an apartment together. All of these like thoughts are going through my head, right? And I keep calling him, I keep texting him, he's not answering me. And he finally answers me. He's like, what? And I'm like, you can't just break up with me. We just got an apartment together. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, Dakota, I'm done. Like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm not happy anymore. Why do you think we haven't been spending time together? It's because you are so unpleasant to be around. I don't want to be with you. Like, I'm done. Like, we've broken up before, but he's never said like things like this to me. It's just always been like, you know, like he often used his mental health as an excuse in the past. When he would break up with me, he would say like, oh, I'm depressed, or oh, you know, I don't think I can give my attention to you in a relationship right now. I need to go get help and things like that. But then he'd be like at the bar posting Snapchats and stuff. So he just started going off, yelling at me, screaming, saying that I'm horrible, saying he doesn't want to be with me, saying he's breaking up with me, etc. And I said, are you like really, like, are you really done? Like, you're really breaking up with me? Like, you don't love me anymore? And he's like, I just don't want to be with you anymore. And I'm like, you don't love me anymore? He's like, Dakota, I want to break up. And I'm like, but do you love me still? Like, are you still in love with me? I'm asking you one question, please just tell me, do you love me anymore? And he said no. He said he didn't love me anymore. He said He wasn't happy. He hasn't been happy for a very long time. He thought that moving in together would fix that, and it didn't. And that he doesn't want this relationship anymore. And he's like, I'm sorry, but I can't do it. I can't do it. And then he hangs up on me. And I immediately drop to the floor and start crying. My eyes out. Just crying my eyes out. I was so heartbroken. I was devastated. I was sad. I was begging him through text, please don't do this. I'll do anything that you want. I will stop nagging you to do things around the house. I won't bitch about anything. I won't do anything. I promise. Like, I won't bother you anymore. I was like, please just don't do this. I was like, please give it another chance. And he would not answer me at all. And it stayed like that for hours. And 1 o'clock rolls around, and I remember I messaged my sister-in-law, and I just basically told her how upset I was and how I was heartbroken. And she said, honey, this sometimes happens when you move in together. Like, you guys get into fights, you realize that it's a lot more responsibility than you thought, and things happen, but like, don't worry, he's gonna come back. Wait till he comes home tonight and you guys can talk. Came home at 4 o'clock in the morning and walked right into the room and went to bed. And we woke up the next morning, and I just started doing my daily stuff around the house, and he was like, we have to talk. And I said, yeah, like, what was that about last night? He's like, I meant everything that I said, Dakota. Like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Like, I'm absolutely finished, and I'm not happy. You don't appreciate me. You don't appreciate anything that I do for you. You don't appreciate anything of me being in your life. You only got this apartment for you and Aubrey. You don't even want me to be a part of it. And I just don't want to be with you anymore. And I said, where were you last night? I said, were you really at your mom's? And he's like, here we go again. You're asking me again. You're accusing me of all this stuff. I said, I'm not accusing you. It's just you were at your mom's till 4 in the morning. He's like, no, I was at my mom's. And then when we got into a fight, I went, what did he used to call it? Something climbing. He used to like climb buildings and stuff, or like go on top of mountains and just like sit there. I don't remember what it's called. But he's like, no, I went to like this building that I normally go to, and I climbed it, and I just sat there for hours thinking. And he just told me, he was like, I can't be with you anymore. Like, I can't do it. I tried to make this work. We've been trying to make this work, and it's just not working, and we need to call it quits. And I was just crying, and I was begging him. I said, no. I said, please. I was like, I'll do anything that you want me to do. Just please, like, don't, like, we just got this apartment together. Aubrey is really starting to now like it and getting adjusted. Like, please don't do this. And he said, Dakota, I'm done. I can't. And he got his clothes on, and he was supposed to go to New York that day. He had been planning it for a few weeks, which is why I wanted to spend time with him the night before, because I knew the rest of the weekend he was going to be busy. And he got his stuff on, and he started to leave, and I ran to the back door, and I said, wait. I said, look at me right now and really tell me this is done. Because so many times he had done this to me, you guys. He had broken up with me. He had led me on. He had just been keeping me on this constant rotation, and I just needed to know, like, is this for real? Or is this just one of your things where you're going to break up with me and then, like, we're going to be fine afterwards? And he looked at me and he said, I'm done. Like, we're breaking up. And he closed the door, and he went into his car, and I saw him like on his phone for like 2 minutes, and then he drove off, and I checked my phone, and he had deleted me off of all of his socials and taken our relationship off of Facebook. And I think I cried so loud that day that the people upstairs probably thought that somebody was actually dying. I'm getting emotional thinking about it, and it's not because I still care about the relationship. It's because I just look back and I really wish that I loved myself a bit more. Wow. I didn't think this was gonna happen. I wish that I had cared about myself, because I could have prevented this from I wish I loved myself more. I I wish I didn't spend so much time blaming myself for something that wasn't my fault. Yeah, Aubrey wasn't there. She stayed with my dad. Like I said, she was with my dad that weekend. Thank God. And I remember I went into our room and I grabbed everything that he's ever bought me, like the watch he bought me, the makeup, I don't know, I kept the makeup, the watch he bought me, and then the booklet that I made for him for Valentine's Day, and I packed it up all in like a little bag and I put it in his backpack. And because I didn't want anything, I didn't want any like remembrance of him for things that he got me, so I packed it up. And I just wept, and I wept, and I wept, and I cried. I didn't tell anybody, because I was embarrassed. And I remember that night I was supposed to go out with my friends, and I didn't want to go, but I was like, if I stay home, I'm literally going to cry my eyes out the entire night. So I got dressed, I put my makeup on, I put my best face forward, and I went to go meet with my friends. And I came home that night and he was sleeping in the bed, so I went to go sleep in the living room. And he came out and he was like, please go sleep in the bed. If anything, I'll sleep out here. And I was like, no. I was like, you made your decision, you broke up with me, I don't want to be next to you, you know? He was, Dakota, stop being stupid, like just go sleep in the bed. And so finally, after like literally 30 minutes of arguing, I went and I slept in the bed. And he slept on the couch. And we woke up that morning and we talked about everything. And he said, listen, I'm not saying this is all you. He's like, yes, I'm unhappy. Yes, I don't want to be in the relationship anymore. And it does have a little bit to do with like, you know, I feel like you don't appreciate me, but he's like, I'm also just not in a good spot right now. I took, you know, the past week to look at my life. I'm not where I want to be. He wanted to like do this like playground thing for a bunch of like kids in the city that he lived in, to keep them like off the streets basically, and he would teach them how to do like free running and parkour and stuff like that. And he hadn't fulfilled that just yet, and he really wanted to. In order to do that, he had to have enough money. So he was like, you know, I haven't been working on my finance, I haven't been doing the things that I want to do, and I feel like I just jumped into this too fast, and I'm realizing now that I have a lot of goals and a lot of things that I haven't done yet, and I really just want to work on myself. I want to be single. I want to work on me and just stay to myself. And I said, okay, I get that, but like, why can't we do that in a relationship? And why didn't you tell me this before we moved in together? And he's like, because I thought I could work past it. You can't blame me for not knowing something before it even happened. And I was like, okay, I understand that. And I was like, so there's nobody else? Like, you're not talking to anybody? He's like, Dakota, no, I'm not talking to anybody. This is all just realization, things that I've been coming to realize over the past couple of weeks. And I remember he held me for like an hour when I cried in his eyes. An hour, literally. And I spent an hour crying in his arms, and then we slept together, which I regret so deeply, because why are you gonna pick at the wound, you know? Just leave it alone. And after we slept together, he noticed there was like a little bruise on my leg, because the night before I had like I don't know, I think I fell or something. And he saw that and he's like, what's that from? What'd you do last night? Basically insinuating that the bruise was because I slept with somebody else or did something with somebody else. It's like, but you're the one breaking up with me, right? This is the type of stuff that he used to do, you guys. So he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get ready now and like try to just relax today. And I said, okay. And he went and he took a shower, he did his hair, he got an outfit on, and he left. And I just sat there and cried for the rest of the day. He was out all day. I had to start asking him, like, when he was out, like, oh, should I leave the door unlocked? Because we had a little like deadbolt, and if you put the deadbolt on, you can't get in. So I was like, should I keep the deadbolt closed, or like should I leave it open? Like, I didn't want to like ask him what he was doing, because technically we weren't together anymore, but at the same time, like, I needed to know. So he left, and before he left, he said that he was going to be moving out within the next couple of weeks. So over the course of the next few weeks, we still slept in the same bed together. We still were intimate. He would wake up, I would still make us breakfast, we would still eat dinner together. Like, nothing, everything was still the same. And I remember people at my job were like, he's just bluffing. He just got cold feet because you guys moved in together and he saw all the responsibility that was happening and he's getting scared. They were all like, he's not leaving. If he was leaving, like, he'd be starting to pack up his stuff, starting to like talk about his move. He's not doing any of that, Dakota. Like, he's like, don't worry, like, he's staying. And in the back of my mind, I wanted to believe it, but I'm like, then why would he say he's leaving? I didn't get it. And he didn't say anything. He didn't talk about leaving. He didn't talk about when he was going to do this. He didn't talk about like, oh, I went to my parents' house and like literally nothing at all. So I'm just like, maybe he is staying. I don't know. But then he would do like weird things. Like, we would sleep in the same bed, and like in the morning he would like put his arm around me and like pull me in and cuddle me, and he'd be like, I'm really gonna miss this when I leave. And then I'd be reminded like, oh shit, like I guess he really is leaving. But then he like, after that, he just stopped talking about it. He wouldn't say anything. And I remember that after that one night, after that day where he said he was gonna go, and then I was crying and then we slept together, he was like, I'm really gonna miss this with you. Like, I'm gonna miss us. But then he wasn't leaving, so I didn't get it. And I remember like I would text him sometimes and I'd be like, are you sure you're not like seeing anybody else? Like, because if you're gonna be intimate with me still, like, okay, but like if you're going to be doing that with me and with somebody else, I'd rather you just tell me the truth or just not be intimate with me, because that's disgusting. And he's like, no, I'm not with anybody else. Like, I told you, I'm working on myself. Like, I'm staying single to work on myself and to develop myself. It's not because of anybody else. So it was a Thursday, and I remembered that I had come home from work and I left my phone there, and they closed at 6:30 and it was already 6:30. So, and also it was like a 30-minute drive, so I wasn't about to go back anyway. So I remember I was like, shit, like I don't have my phone. I need an alarm for tomorrow. What am I gonna do? So he had come home and I told him, I said, oh, hey, we were getting ready for bed. I said, oh, hey, I left my phone at my job. Would you mind putting an alarm on your phone so that way I could wake up in the morning and get ready to go to work? And he said, sure. And like, I'm sleeping over here and then this is his side. He went like this, and I saw that he had put in his passcode, but it wasn't the passcode that it used to be. So he had like a pattern as a passcode. And so he put it into his phone, and it was the initial of his name. If you're gonna cheat, you can't be stupid. Like, you have to pick one struggle, okay? If you're gonna cheat, be smart about it. Don't be stupid. He changed his passcode to the initial of his name. So in this video, I'm calling him Adrian. He changed it to an A. Like, if you don't want me to see something, be smarter with what you're changing your passcode to. And I saw that and I'm just like, peeped it, put it in my pocket, saving it for later with everything else that I'm collecting. There's like a file. Just keep putting more into the file until one day I get that last piece of evidence and it's like, boom, shit on you for life. Go to work, I come home, he comes home late again, and we wake up the next day. And it's a Saturday and he has to go to work at 12. So he wakes up, and I remember Aubrey had like woke up that morning and she came into our bed and she was playing with us and we were all just like laughing, and he got up to go to use the bathroom. And since we had broken up, this boy took his phone with him everywhere. Oh, and there was one night, I forgot to mention this, there was one night where he came home, maybe like 3 days before this all happened, and he came home and he was like, hey, one of my friends just got arrested, and my friend is gonna call me and telling me like, you know, where his whereabouts are and stuff like that, so we can get him out. So he's like, I'm gonna be in the basement for probably like an hour. I need you to go call my friend. And I was like, okay, no problem. So he goes into the basement and talks for like an hour, which was suspicious, weird. So then fast forward to now, he goes to the bathroom, and he never left his phone out since we broke up. He always took it with him. Like, he always had it glued to him, took it in the shower, took it to the bathroom. If he had to go outside for a minute, took it outside. This boy always had his phone on him, okay? He goes to the bathroom, and I realized that he left his phone on the bed. And I don't know if it was God, my ancestors, the universe, everything in me was like, girl, if you don't look in that phone, you are gonna regret it for the rest of your life. So I just jumped and I grabbed the phone. I put the passcode in, and immediately when I put the passcode in, it's a text message and it says babe, but it's not me. it's another number. I know most of you would be like, oh, I would have screenshotted the number, or I would have called it, whatever. And I understand how there's different things that everybody would do in this situation, but I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about who it was. I wasn't thinking about etc. I was more interested in the text messages and how long this has been going for. So I start scrolling up and reading as much as I could. I mean, you know, boys pee fast. So I just start like scrolling, looking through as much as I can, and I see, oh, we have to make plans for tonight after work, because we always say we're gonna hang out, and then we end up just driving around or hanging out in your car. We need to actually make plans tonight. And then it was like, one was like, oh, did she hear us on the phone last night talking about when he said he was downstairs talking to his fucking friend? Yeah, you were talking to your friend, all right? And one was like, oh, I want to just come see you right now. Is there any way you could sneak me in? He was talking to her saying this, and she was like, no, my parents would find out. And I just was reading everything, and they were just calling each other babe and saying, I miss you, I can't wait to see you at work today. And I read that, and I was just like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew it. You really had me sitting over here this whole time thinking that it was me, thinking that I'm crazy, thinking that I need help, thinking that I'm the problem, when you're over here talking to other girls, and you're talking to them like days after we broke up. I'm not stupid. I know this was premeditated. I know you broke up with me for somebody else. And I knew that the whole time, because like I said, when we break up in the past, we'd always get back together. So this time I knew, I'm like, if he's breaking up with me for good, like somebody else is in the picture. I'm not dumb. Like, I know that much. And then he gets out of the bathroom, and I'm holding my phone his phone in my hands, and I just look at him and I was like, some things never change, huh? And I just throw the phone to the side, and I get up and I walk right past him. He's like, why would you look at my phone at a time like this? You know that we're going through problems right now. Why would you do, like, blaming me, like, why would you look at my phone at a time like this? And I just start packing my stuff, and I don't know why, because I wasn't going anywhere. He was the one going to work. I just start packing my stuff. I get my suitcase, start packing my stuff. He's like, can we please talk about this? Can we talk? And I literally remember I flung around, and I said, you are a freaking liar. I said, you are a liar. You are a manipulator. You are not shit. You are a terrible person. Terrible. I said, you are a horrible human being. I said, you lied to me this whole entire time. And he just starts talking and talking, and I'm not listening. I said, I don't want to talk to you. I said, go to work. I was like, go to work, do what you gotta do, go hang out with who you gotta hang out with. I said, don't talk to me. I was like, leave me alone. And then I remember I was like sitting on the couch, and I was like doing something, and he just was like, can we please talk when I come home from work tonight? And I said, there's nothing to talk about, Adrian. There's nothing to talk about. You made your bed, like, go lay in it. There's nothing to speak about. And he's like, please just be here when I get home. I really want to talk to you. And I was like, all right, maybe, we'll see. So he goes to work, and I had gone to my best friend's house, and I told her everything that was happening. And like I told you guys, I didn't tell anybody what was going on because I was embarrassed about, we had just moved in together, we had just settled down, and now we're breaking up and he's moving out, and it was just a horrible feeling. So I didn't tell anybody, and I finally broke down crying and told her everything that was going on, and her jaw was to the floor, because like I said, from the outside looking in, we had the perfect relationship, you know? And she was just like, I can't believe this is happening to you. She's like, I really thought you guys were like I thought you guys were gonna get married. Like, I thought you guys were solid. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I told her about how I caught him texting somebody else, and how she was saved under babe and stuff. And she was like, you have to look into that, because that was premeditated. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He was probably cheating on me this whole entire time. Go home, because like he said, he was gonna come home and he was gonna talk to me, and I'm texting him and I'm calling him and he's not answering. So finally it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. And I wake up the next morning, I start doing my makeup, I start getting ready, and I get a text from him, and it's like, hey, can you open the door? And I was confused, because I'm like, why would I open the door when you have a key? So I go and I like open the door, and there's a moving truck outside of my house, and he was coming with his dad to move everything into the truck. And let me remind you guys, he said that he was moving when we broke up, but he never talked about it after that. Over the next like week, I would say, He never said anything about how he was moving. Never. Not once did he say that he was actually leaving on this date. He was acting like everything was fine. We were still sleeping together, still in the same bed together, still having breakfast together, still hanging out. Like nothing had ever happened. To the point where literally everybody was like, dude, he's not leaving. So I saw that the truck was blocking the driveway, so I couldn't leave even if I wanted to. So I went in Aubrey's room and I locked myself in there and I started to cry. And I took a Snapchat and I just like took it of my face and I was like, I can't believe I'm going through this right now. Or I think it was like, I shouldn't be having to go through this. I went and I locked myself in Aubrey's room, and probably like an hour passed and I heard him say, where did she go? And I heard him like rustling around the house looking for me. And then he goes to Aubrey's door and he tries to open it and it wasn't open because I had locked it. And he starts pounding on my door. He's like, Dakota, please answer. I want to talk to you, like, please. And I didn't say anything. I probably sat there and let him pound on the door for like 15 minutes until I finally decided to open the door. And I was like, what? I was like, what, Adrian? What? I was like, I felt like, I know I said I'm not gonna put memes in here, but I felt like when Sammy was like leaving the Jersey Shore and she's like, look at me. Look at me. Like, look what you did to me. So he took, I remember Aubrey's Minnie Mouse table was in there and she had this like little chair that went with it. And he took it and I sat on his lap and he just was like, this is not you, this is me. He's like, I'm a bad person, I'm a terrible human being, and I need help. I need to figure out why I hurt the people that I love. I need to figure out why I do this to people. I'm so sorry. You're an amazing girlfriend. Like, I couldn't have asked for a better girlfriend, Dakota. You're truly amazing. I'm so sorry I did this to you. And I looked at him and I said, is it Nikki, the person that was on your phone? And he said, no. And I said, then who is it? He's like, I can't tell you that. And I said, why? And he's like, because you're going to try to contact them and I just don't want any drama. And I said, please, I begged him to tell me who it was. I was like, just tell me who it is. Tell me a name. And he's like, no. And I thought in the pit of my stomach that it was Nikki. And I said, is it Nikki? The girl that I caught Snapchatting him? He's like, no. I told you she's 17. And I said, is it Nikki? He goes, no. I looked at him and I said, swear on Aubrey. Swear on my daughter. Swear on her that it's not Nikki. He goes, I swear on Aubrey it's not Nikki. And I said, okay. And again, I believed him because why would he lie to me on my daughter? So I just cried in his arms for like 10 minutes and he's like, all right, well, I gotta go. My dad's waiting. And I was like, okay. And I hugged him and he kissed me for the last time and he left. And he took the bed. He took the TV, and all we had was like a little couch. It was like a small like love seat couch. It was so small, and I just couldn't believe that he really took the bed with him, because at least at his parents' house he had like a big couch to sleep on if he wanted to, but he took the bed. And that night, oh no, that day I went onto Facebook Marketplace and I bought a TV because I was like, I can't not have a TV, like my daughter's here, you know. And I went and I bought a TV. I slept on the couch for probably like a week because I didn't want to tell my dad that we broke up. And it was horrible. This was like my first heartbreak. Before this, I hadn't been in any like long-term relationships. They've only lasted like a small amount of time. And in high school, I had a few relationships, but not like anything like securely substantial. This was my first love. Besides Matt in my other story times, that was like my high school love, but this was like my first like adult love relationship. And it was my longest lasting one. So I feel like when most people go through like their first heartbreak, it's like in high school. I was experiencing mine at 21 years old. No, 22. I was experiencing mine at 22 years old. And I can't describe the feeling other than you feel like your insides are literally disintegrating. You feel like your heart is just cracking every second of every day. You feel like you're literally dying from the inside out, and that's essentially how I felt. I was so depressed. I probably spiraled into the deepest depression that I've ever felt in my entire life. I would go to work, distract myself, come home, put Aubrey to bed, and I would just probably cry for like the rest of the night. I'd go in my room, I'd lock myself in there, and from 8 to like 1 in the morning, I would just cry my eyes out. I didn't really have a lot of friends at the time. I did have like my best friend, and I had like another friend and they'd come over sometimes to like check on me and stuff like that, but for the most part I was alone and I was by myself. Even thinking about it now, I'm experiencing that feeling in my chest right now, and I feel like I was just like on autopilot and I was just existing, but I felt like I wasn't alive. I felt like I was a dead person in a person's body that was alive. That's like the best way I could describe it. He came over, I want to say a week after that, because he needed to come and grab one last thing. He needed to come and grab some shoes. So he came and he grabbed them, and he said that when he got there he wanted to talk to me. And so we sat down and he commented on how he noticed that I lost weight, and he's like, are you eating? And I was like, no, because I wasn't eating. I wasn't like drinking water. I'll actually put a picture in here of how skinny I was. I was so skinny. And my cousin, actually, I went to her house one day to have dinner with her, and she was like, are you eating? Like, you look really thin. I was so thin, you guys. It was so bad. And I don't know, we just started talking, and I just got to the point where I was like, I can't believe that like we're actually like done. I can't believe you actually left. And he's like, you think this is easy for me? You think that it's easy moving on from you? He was like, I was in love with you. You think that this is easy? Every time I kiss this girl, I want to be kissing you. Every time I think I'm with this girl, I think about you. He's like, this girl means nothing to me. This is a summer fling. This is just someone that I'm using to distract myself. I'm using her to get over you, Dakota. Don't you understand that? And I don't know why, but I felt some source of like happiness from that. It was just so toxic. And then we ended up sleeping together, and then he left. I remember like the middle of us sleeping together, he kind of just looked at me, and like it looked like he wanted to stop, but then he didn't. And then afterwards he left. And then he texted me the next day saying that it's best if we don't speak to each other anymore. Because it just wasn't helping, and we obviously can't be friends. And I begged him not to do that to me. I said, I at least want to still talk to you. Like, you were my best friend, my lover for over a year. Like, I can't just cut myself off. And he's like, I'm sorry, but I can't talk to you anymore. And I was like, I begged him, but he wouldn't listen, and he meant it. I tried texting him, I would try calling him, I would try checking in on him, and he didn't answer me. I got a new couch, and so I needed for him to come and get like his old one, because otherwise I was gonna have to put it outside. I didn't want to do that. He refused to answer me. I needed for the cable to be switched in my name. In order to do that, he needed to call them, or at least be with me, and we could like call them together, and he didn't do that, refused to answer me. He owed me money still, because remember, he was supposed to pay me the half of the rent and half of the groceries for the month of July, and he said he would get me that Friday. Didn't ever pay me. Wouldn't answer about it. So I just kind of had to sit there and take it and realize that this person was not in my life anymore. So I remember I was sitting on my couch one night, and my sister-in-law texted me, and she was like, so you guys really broke up? And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? And I'm thinking maybe like my mom texted her or something and told her about it. And she was like, he's in a relationship. And I said, what are you talking about? He's in a relationship. She's like, yeah, on Facebook. He forgot that my family still had him on there. Like, he deleted like my mom and stuff, but I guess he forgot about my sister-in-law because she lived in Alaska at the time anyway. So he didn't really like meet her. So I said, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, he's in a relationship on Facebook. And she sends me a screenshot, and I open it, and he's in a relationship with Nikki, the 17-year-old, the one that, why would I ever talk to her? She's 17. That would never happen. I swear on your daughter, I'm not talking to Nikki. Yeah, that one. And on Facebook, what you can do is like, say if you get into a relationship on a certain day, but you like forget to put the post up, you can put it up later and then put the date that you started to date. And guess what the date was that they put up for their relationship? July 7th. The night when he said he was having family from Texas come over, the night when he didn't come home till 4 in the morning, the night where he was at his mom's house, the night where I was sitting there literally crying my freaking eyes out, that night. Yeah. put on there that he's been in a relationship with her since July 7th. I lost my shit. I called him and I left him like the nastiest voicemail ever. I was pissed because how dare you? How dare you? Not only did you make me believe that this whole thing was because of me and that I was this horrible person that didn't appreciate you and that I was the problem, you swore on my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, that literally was looking, that started to call you dad because you were around so much. You swore on her that the girl that you were talking to, leaving me for essentially, was not Nikki, but it was. But it was. And just to end the story quick, I ended up that night texting her because, like I said, remember he came over to my house to get his shoes like a few days prior to that, and we slept together. That means that they were in a relationship because it was after July 7th. So that means that he cheated on her with me, and that means that the whole entire time that we were living together, they were in a relationship. He was sleeping with me every single night, waking up with me, going to bed with me, still saying that he loved me. We were still hanging out, we were still intimate, and he was in a relationship with her. So essentially what happened is that he left me for a coworker, an underage coworker, okay? And, you know, he started the job there. Basically, they started to talk, started to be friends. They were both into the same stuff. They both did like free running and parkour, and they both did flips and shit. And they exchanged Snapchats, exchanged numbers, and ended up falling for each other, and he left me for her. But that means that when they began a relationship, that he was still living with me that whole entire time and cheating on her with me. Disgusting. You're trash. You're literally the definition of trash. And I messaged her, and I'm not gonna lie, at first I was pretty nasty because I'm like, he told me before he left that she knew about me. I asked him, I said, the girl that you are like talking to now, this summer fling, right? I was like, does she know about me? Does she know that you are here with me and my daughter? And he's like, yeah. And I said, and you're okay with being with somebody like that? And he's like, I know. He's like, I know, I don't feel good about myself. He's like, that's why it's just like a summer fling. I would never take her seriously because, like, what girl is okay with being with somebody who has like a family essentially, you know, and is leaving that family to be with you? Like, what girl's okay with that? Like I said, you guys, he's very good at lying. And so I messaged her and I basically was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I was petty. This is the one thing that I regret. I was petty and I was like, yeah, just to let you know, your boyfriend was literally sleeping with me like 2 nights ago, but have fun, like you guys deserve each other. And then I forgot that I had sent that message, and a week later went by and I was walking Aubrey in her stroller and she messaged me back and she was like, yeah, that's not true. She was like, he was with me a couple nights ago, but like, nice try. You know, thanks for the empty threat essentially. And then she just started like going off basically because I told her, I said, honestly, when I sent this message, like I was on some petty shit, but now like I genuinely like feel bad for you. And I was like, he really was at my house and he did sleep with me. Like, I just want you to know. I was like, I didn't know you guys were in a relationship. I had no idea until somebody told me about it. And she was like, what night was it? And I told her and she's like, yeah, no, he was with me, but like, nice try. She was like, thanks for the empty threats. He's probably the best boyfriend that you ever had, but you didn't appreciate him. And now that he's gone, you regret it. You little girl. You don't know anything. Like, just wait and just see what you get yourself into. And I was just like, yeah, no, he definitely was at my house, but I was like, honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter. I said, like I said, I was on some petty shit, and now I actually feel bad for you, and I'm trying to, like, help you out. And she's like, oh, there's no need to help me out. She's like, I wanted this. She's like, the day that he broke up with you, I broke up with my boyfriend too, so we could be together. So I guess it all worked out, right? When I read that message, I was like, you bitch, like, what is wrong with you? But I was like, you know what? There's nothing I could do. He wants to be with her, whatever. Is what it is. And I was like, good luck. I was like, all I gotta say to you is good luck. You'll see what you're gonna get yourself into. And she was like, thanks, can't wait. And then he messaged me after that and he told me off. Oh my God, he went crazy. Because she probably like bitched at him because she probably knew that I was right but didn't want to be embarrassed. And he was just like, why would you message her? Leave us alone. You're just jealous that I'm happy. She's so much better than you in so many ways. Hello everybody, it is Dakota from the future coming in because, as per usual, I left some things out in this video that I think are really important. I just want to clarify them right now. So I had mentioned when we had first broken up, when he came home at 4 in the morning on July 7th, that the next day we woke up and he basically just said, you know, confirmed that he was done and he was breaking up with me, and then he had gone to New York. It was later on that I found out, once my friend was able to access, get access into his social media, because he had me blocked on everything and he was private, so there's no way I could possibly see it. But my friend was able to add him and he accepted, and she saw that that day that he had gone to New York, he went to New York with Nikki. So, you know, he broke up with me, and then literally the next day they were taking a trip to New York together. So also I found out that when we were in a relationship that he actually went out to eat with her at Buffalo Wild Wings, which was like one of our favorite spots to eat at. So I was a little offended, not gonna lie. And essentially, you know, he was basically cheating on me the whole entire time that we had lived together. He had already established this connection with Nikki. Right as we were moving in, because right as we were moving in was when he was like basically starting the job, and they had basically right away established a connection. So mentally he was already cheating on me. And then, you know, if you're going out to eat with another girl while we're together, if you were planning trips to New York with her, and etc., you know, I can only imagine what else happened. You know, you don't stay out till 4 in the morning with somebody and then come home unless you're doing something sketchy, right? And then last thing I want to talk about is that he told everybody, which I later on found out through talking to a couple people that he was friends with, that he told everybody that the minute that he broke up with me that I kicked him out and made him homeless. You were never homeless. That is an absolute lie. You stayed with me for 2 weeks. 2 weeks after you broke up with me. I allowed you to stay here. I never once kicked you out, never once made you feel like you had to leave. I literally woke up in the morning, I would cook you breakfast, I would make you dinner. Like, what are you talking about? I never made you homeless whatsoever. If I made you homeless, why would you show up with a freaking moving truck out of nowhere to the house and take all your shit, you know? So that is also something that always struck a chord with me to this day, because it's like, stop lying. Like, what's the motive, you know? And then lastly, I told you guys about the girl from October that had reached out to me, and I did end up reaching out to her eventually. I'm going to touch on that in another video. Lovely girl. Still talk to her to this day. Consider her a friend. I love her so much. She's absolutely amazing. And the fact that she even came to me and told me this information is incredible, because, you know, women don't really do that these days. But it was confirmed that in October, when we were kind of like on and off, that he was pursuing something with her at the same exact time. And to this day, you know, denied it, never fully admitted to it, but I was able to talk to her and gain some clarity and confirmation. So I did just want to put that out there, that I did leave a few pieces of information out, because, and also this video is very long, as there was no possible way to condense this shit. I tried my absolute best. There was no way I could condense this video without leaving something important out. So there's that. I'm gonna end this story here because I already have like literally hours of footage to go through. I will be doing more story times on like things that happened after this. I wish that I could say this is my last encounter with Adrian, but it wasn't at all. We definitely got back together after this because I'm dumb. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's story time about when I dated a narcissistic, compulsive liar. So many things even worse than this happened after I ended up taking him back. But like I said, those are other stories for other times. I just wanted to end this video by saying that if you are in a relationship like this right now, that some people don't change. People can change, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of healing. And it doesn't happen over the course of a few weeks. If you're in a relationship like this, I highly encourage you to get out of it. It doesn't get better, it only gets worse. People who are like this literally have something that tells them to lie like this, that tells them that this is okay, and you can't save them, you can't fix them, and you don't deserve to be with somebody who lies to you, who manipulates you, who calls you names and makes you feel like less than yourself. And if you have ever been in a relationship like this and you got out, you are a survivor, because I don't care what anybody says, a relationship like this is abusive. It is. Just because someone's not hitting you doesn't mean they're not abusing you. And I'm proud of you for leaving and getting out of it, and for having the battle wounds to prove that you are a survivor. I feel so much like a weight is lifted after telling this story. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's story time. I hope you learned something from it, or maybe it made you feel less alone in some type of way. If you guys want me to tell other Adrian stories, like about how things that I found out, us getting back together and then breaking up again, and the things that I found out after then, like, you know, a woman coming forth to me. And I did end up reaching out to the girl who ended up texting me saying that in October she was like with him, but she saw him texting me and then she broke up with him. I did end up reaching out to her later on. So if you guys want to hear about that, just let me know. Give this video a huge thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notifications, and comment when done. The post notification shout out of the week goes to Jen Labin. She said, "Yes, queen, I see you out here killing it. You're such an amazing woman, mother, daughter, and most of all, friend. Just watching your videos on social media, I can tell your vibe and energy is one of a kind. I wish we lived together closer because we'd be friends. Aubrey is truly blessed and lucky to have you as her mom and best friend. I wish you nothing but happiness in this world. Love you." And then also she said that her post notifications were done. So if you would also like to be my post notification shout out of the week, all you have to do is make sure that your post notifications are turned on by clicking that bell icon next to the subscribe button. When you are done doing that, just go ahead and comment down below and make sure that you say done, so I know that you turn your post notifications on. I will see you guys next week with another story time, and until then, stay blessed, stay away from narcissistic people, stay away from fuckboys, and stay away from Adrians. Bye guys.